Hello, Grace Church. I am Hannah Allison. I'm the children's director here at Grace, just in case you haven't met me before. I am so excited that you chose to watch this video, and I'm excited to share a beautiful book with you called The Thornbush. This book is a retelling of the story of Jesus' death and resurrection, but it comes from a very unusual perspective, the perspective of a thorn bush. So let's get into it. The thorn bush stared up at the moonlit sky, waiting for the warmth of the dawn. Its tiny flowers huddled together against the cold. Finally, the little bush drifted off to sleep. The ragged little bush grew between the stones at the edge of a narrow street that led to a grand palace. Its thorns were sharp, and its flowers were too small to be admired. Children never picked its blossoms, and travelers avoided the prickly bush. The thorn bush felt ugly and unwanted. A rooster crowed. Harsh voices stirred the thorn bush from its sleep. A crowd pushed a man through the quiet streets toward the palace. His hands were tied, but he showed no anger. The man stopped in front of the little bush. His gentle gaze made the bush feel warm and cared for. No one had ever shown such kindness to the thorn bush. A moment later, the shouting crowd forced the man to move on. Who do you think that man is? Out of the shadows came another man. As he passed, a silver coin fell to the ground. It rolled beneath the thorn bush. The man knelt to pick it up. His face was sad, and he began to weep. His tears fell on the thorn bush. How I wish I could comfort him, thought the little bush, but my thorns will only pierce him more. The man stumbled off and did not return. People began to gather outside the palace. A soldier walked through the crowd toward the little thorn bush. The morning sunlight reflected off the soldier's raised sword. With a single swing of the sharp weapon, several branches fell from the little bush. The soldier gathered the cuttings and returned to the palace. Why would anyone want my ugly thorns? The thorn bush wondered. The sun rose high in the morning sky. People began to shout as a man limped through the palace gates. "Behold your King Jesus," laughed the soldiers. "Who says he is the Son of God?" "Crucify him," yelled the angry mob. The little bush shuddered. It was the man with the kind face. He was struggling to drag a heavy wooden cross over the rough stone street. As the man reached the thorn bush, he stumbled and fell to his knees. He turned a tired face toward the little bush. Even though he will soon die on that cross, his eyes are filled with kindness, the little bush thought. The thorn bush recognized its own spiky branches weaved into a thorny crown upon the man's head. A drop of blood fell from the man's forehead onto one of the bush's small yellow blossoms. The stained flower fell to the ground. It was a long, sad day when all the people finally went home and the street was deserted. The thorn bush bowed in sorrow. It was ashamed of the pain its thorns had caused the man with the cross. For 2 days, the thorn bush refused to bloom. Morning dew fell like tears from its trembling branches. The little bush bent low to examine the fallen flowers beneath it. Only one remained fresh, the flower stained by the blood of the man with the crown of thorns. On the 3rd day after the man came, the bush was awakened by a beautiful dove. The graceful bird flew down to rest among the thorn bush's branches. "He's alive!" cried a woman as she hurried through the street. "Jesus is risen!" The thornbush was amazed. Could this kind man really have risen from the dead? Warm sunshine poured over the little bush. Its broken branches began to bud. Once more, the thornbush thought of the loving kindness shown by the man with the gentle eyes, the man they called Jesus. The thornbush selected its most delicate bloom and held it high in the morning sun. Slowly, the golden bloom opened, revealing a touch of red deep within the small blossom, as though it had been stained by a droplet of Jesus' blood. The thornbush rejoiced. The man Jesus had died, but lived again. He truly is God's son. Jesus' only crown had been woven from the branches of the little thornbush, but that crown was greater than silver or gold. Did you see the empty tomb? It was the crown of the King of all kings, Jesus. Now, this is not a true story from the thornbush's perspective, but the story that it does tell is the story of Jesus' death and resurrection. And that is the true meaning of Easter. Jesus really did come. He came to earth to die on the cross for our sins. In 3 days, he rose again. And taking with it, he gave us the opportunity to live forever with him. Now, this is the true meaning of Easter. But this is a meaning of Easter that other people need to hear about. Some of you may have friends who don't believe in Jesus. Some of you may have friends who don't go to church or don't do those kind of things. And today, we want to share the real meaning of Easter, because it's not about bunnies, and it's not about Easter eggs, and it's not about candy. So instead, I want you to use the invitation card that's in your packet this time, and I want you to invite somebody to your Easter service here at Grace Church. This is a great service project that you and your family can do together. And I encourage you, don't just give them the card. There's a letter part in the back where you can write out a message to them, but don't even just do that. Make this big. Show them that you care and love them enough to tell them the true meaning of Easter. But you can do that in a fun way. So you could egg somebody's house, not in a bad way, but hide little Easter eggs and fill them with candy, and then give them the invitation and say, hey, we've egged your house. Find those Easter eggs and then come join us. Or you could make some baked goods like cookies or candies, and you could give them to them along with your invitation card. If they choose to come, be sure that you're a good host to them. Have them sit with you. Tell them about your church. Introduce them to important people. Important people meaning people who are kind to you and will be kind to them as well. I hope that you have a wonderful time as a family, putting your focus on somebody else this Easter season and inviting them to our church. All right, I hope to hear all about your wonderful adventures in service. Talk to you soon. Bye.